What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Dadgood Community Podcast. Tonight, we're hanging out with the legends themselves. We got our boy WD, Warren DeVrenz, hanging out with us in the house. You know him, you love him. Geek Roscoe, hanging out with us in the house. And don't forget about your boy, Chief Revenue, overseeing all partnerships. You know him, you love him. MC Matt Campbell in the house. As always, I'm your host, Chris Walcher, and tonight we've got a massive one in store for you. Another man, another myth, another legend, hanging out with the Dadgood folks themselves, our guy, Nicholas Howe. Let's go.
Good to see everybody.
All right,
Welcome,
so look,
bro.
I'll tee him up. So I selfishly, I go way back with Nick. And earlier in the week, I had him on my own podcast, Mutual Connections, and just the story, the pivot of what we got into, just really electric stuff. And so I feel like kind of what he's building with his software company, How United Game Software, the dopest acronym in town, hashtag hugs. And he's really focusing on he's developed a platform for therapists to dig a little bit deeper, particularly like couples therapists, and really exercising how to get couples to communicate with open dialogue and, put away the tone, put away, just talk to me like I'm a human being. And so the moment that I kind of heard the mission statement of what my boy is doing over at Hugs, I had to have him on. And so without further ado, I'll stop talking. And my boy Nicholas, dude, thanks for hanging out with us, bro.
No, thank you guys. It's a pleasure to see you all. Matt, Warren, Guy, thanks for the time. Chris, it's always a pleasure. I'll give you the spiel, man. Chris, you're gonna have to just sit through it again.
I'm down.
So after my son was born, I asked for a divorce. I realized that I was in an unhealthy, unhappy, unfulfilling marriage. And the kicker for me was the issues that I saw within myself and in my relationship at the time. I saw in my parents' relationship and I saw it in my grandparents' relationship. And so I found myself in this position of I can either stick this out for 18 years and promise and pretty much guarantee my son does the same thing I did, or I can be the bad guy in a lot of people's eyes and ask for a divorce, but give myself the opportunity to be the man and the dad that I didn't get, but to be that for my son. And I did the latter. But what that started has been this ongoing 9 year so far journey of awareness and introspection and self-growth. And it's just been this ongoing thing. And, fast forward 4 years, my son's 4. He can, put some sentences together about how he's feeling. And so we started this activity that we do to this day every week called Cups and Spoons. And we do it before bed where I ask him a handful of questions. And it's a place for him to talk about whatever he's feeling about, including me letting him down or things that I did that he felt wronged in. And that space works in 2 ways. One, it gives him this safe space to talk about literally anything where he knows it's not going to be punitive. And at the same time, it forces me to kind of take off the dad hat for a little bit and approach that conversation in those moments with objectivity and curiosity and understanding who he is in his own who he is as his own person. And it's a space for us to work together on fixing things. It's not it's not me going, hey, you did this wrong, you need to do it this way. It's a, hey, how do we work on this together? Like, what can daddy do to help give you the tools or teach you different ways to look at things or how to communicate with what you're feeling? And it has worked so well in our lives. My son is more emotionally well-balanced and communicative at 9 than I was at 35. It has just done so good for us. Like, there are constantly times where he is able to approach me and go, hey, I didn't like how you did this, or I didn't like how you said this. And he knows there's not going to be negative repercussions on that. He's not scared of my reaction, but it all boils down to creating and cultivating a safe space where he knows he can be himself and he knows he can show up how he needs to show up, and I'll meet him there. And this entire time we've been working on this, there's just been this nagging thing on, like, this has worked so well for me. How can I take this activity that we do and share it with other people. And so, we fast forward a couple more years and COVID is happening. I was single at the time, but the families and the couples that I was in orbit in, I was seeing a lot of turmoil. I was seeing a lot of discourse. And for me, it was like, it shouldn't be that way. Like, if the world is falling apart and it's on fire, the one place you should be able to go is home to your partner and your person, where you can lean on each other to just be against the world. And that's kind of when it clicked on what I can do with the activity my son and I do. And so I stepped away from what I was doing and I took 6 months to teach myself how to code. And I built out this rough web application of the idea of what I wanted to do. And then I took it to a development team and they built out an app for me. And it's a couples relationship building game. It's a board game, basically. And it's filled of things to do with and for your partner throughout the day and throughout the week that I feel like you can lose sight of in a long-term relationship. And so the app itself is just kind of a bridge or a medium of communication where you can look at it and go, hey, I can do this for my person today, or I can work to do this thing for my person throughout the week or on a certain day. And the board is just a medium of acknowledgement. Like, you would do a thing, your partner would log in and fill in a tile. You get a notification that they acknowledge this moment, whether you're in the same room, in the same time zone, like on completely different routines. It's a way to connect when you're still not together. And the best way I can describe it is it's reinforces the mortar of the bricks in between the house of your relationship. Like, it's not a magic wand. It's not going to fix anything. But if you're focusing on doing one positive thing for your partner every day or every week, how much better would your relationship be 6 months from now, or 5 weeks from now, or a year from now? And as we're building this app out, I fell down this rabbit hole in the mental health care space, just seeing how few providers there are compared to how many millions of couples there are in therapy, let alone the tens of millions of people in therapy. And there was a huge discrepancy. And the more I talked to people and the more research I did, I was coming across a lot of burnout and a lot of mental load in trying to get couples to open up and just be progressive within the space once they're in therapy. And so I took cups and spoons one step further and I developed our overarching company, Hugs, United Games and Software. And we developed a software platform for couples therapists to invite their clients to play this app. And as they're playing this app, their interactions are transmitted in real time to the therapist. So a therapist can log in a few minutes before a session and go, Joe and Jane have done X, X, and X throughout the week. This is when they did it. This is, these are the kind of categories that they interacted in, whether it's an actionable item, communication, or an emotional effort or support or anything like that. And go, okay, they did this, but the lack of things that they did in the board is just as important in regards to information, because the board provides them the opportunity to see their strengths and what they're good at, but also what they could improve on. And it allows the therapist to let the app kind of do some of the lift in getting to know who these couples are and who these clients are in between sessions. But it also allows them to walk into a session with a bit more of a strategy instead of sitting there waiting for people to open up, get through a bunch of fluff, and then proceed to work on care and what their strategy is throughout the week. They can go, hey, you guys did this. Why was this easy? Or why didn't you potentially do this? And so that where Hugs is right now, but as we continue to grow and evolve, we will become, a toolbox or more an eco village on having a place for a therapist to better manage their practice in its entirety. You'll say you're a therapist, you'll be able to log in, you'll see analytics and insights from, a handful of different apps that we offer for different clientele. You can handle billing and insurance, taxes, doing education, advertising your platform, to help you get back to doing what you got into the industry to do in the beginning, which was to help people, instead of all of this administrative stuff and jumping between platforms that takes so much time. But that's our 10-year plan in a nutshell.
Yeah, bro. I'm glad that you took the time to go A to Z, because it's so much to unpack and there's so much good, like deeply, first of all, and I know I already told you this, and To be fair, I already got my chance to just pepper you with questions. So I'm going to let these hooligans kind of dive into the journey and the literature. But
Yeah.
just to like restate, the exercise with your son with the cups and spoons and the emotional intelligence that you're giving him at that age, like you made the joke, at 35, dude, I'm 35 and I don't have near the emotional intelligence to articulate how I feel in an argument with my wife or when I'm trying to express my emotions. So I'll shut up now, but I want to pick on the gang and just let them kind of unravel what the hell they just heard in terms of your journey.
I think first and foremost, yeah, to Chris's point, thank you for taking us A through Z. I think like look, we're all in sales. There's nothing better than when someone just tells you everything up front rather than having to pull one thing out one by one. It just makes the question asking just so much easier. So my question is, given a few of us here are in ecom, I know you spent a lot of time in ecom. How was that pivot into the mental health space? Did you have any sort of experience there prior, or was it like that first moment of you going through it with your son and that's what made you kind of pivot into the space?
So there was always kind of like this nagging feeling of like, this is working so well for my son and I. Like, I need to figure out a way to introduce it to other people, no matter what the relationship is, whether it's familial or couples or friendships. There was just always this thing pulling at the back of my brain going, you need to make this public. You need to get it out there because it's important and it's helped you. It should help other people. But the shift out of e-commerce into the mental health care space was completely, I look back and it was insane. But once it kind of clicked on how I wanted cups and spoons to be brought to life in a public setting, it was just this compulsion. Like the app and the platform took 2 years to build. Like I walked away from e-commerce. I stopped, and it was just, it's been this ever since. There was no I had no real background in the software space or anything like that. It was just, I decided this is where I wanted to go, and I spent 3 years digging into the mental health care space, how to make this as psychologically beneficial for people using it as possible. I observed everybody and everything that I was around. I ate up podcasts left and right from the industry just to make sure I was building this in a way that it would benefit the people who were using it.
Was there ever a point in that journey that you thought this might not work, or hey, like it worked for me, but I don't know if it's going to work for other people?
I am, yes. Yeah, I deal with that self-doubt literally every day. Like I it took me about 2 years to really kind of start talking about it because I was so afraid that I just had this crazy pants idea that is just working for me. But the more I talked about it, the more I showed people what it did, not only couples, but now that I'm introducing it to, people in the space, they're like, this is actually a really cool concept. Continuously invigorates me to keep moving forward. But I deal with that fear every day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think
And
that's normal also. Yeah. Like we're all in our own right trying to build something. And so just going back to that vulnerability, that self doubt, like, man, there are days, and I'll text Maddie and I'll be like, bro, I'm on top of the world. Like, we're good. But then there are days like today, you shoot a text, you're like, don't put me in, coach. Like,
Today
I'm
ain't
on the
it, dog.
struggle bus just to get it going. So I think that's totally normal, man.
Nick, I'm gonna ask this delicately because I know it probably took a lot to come to conclusion, and I'm sorry if I overstepped. But you talked about your relationship and how you made the decision to step away for your son or for your kid. I think the way you framed it is in a way that most people don't typically see that, right? Where they
Mm.
don't see that they could be their better self for their kid, as opposed to just sticking through a, a not healthy situation and trying to make it work. How did you? I know you mentioned some history in your childhood. How did you come to that conclusion? And I guess talk us through that whole process of like being a co-parent or however you're parenting.
Yeah, dude, great question, and thank you. I appreciate you trying to work that out. as delicately as possible. It was a few things. No, it like that wasn't an easy question to ask, and for you to be as eloquent as you were, I appreciate that. You could have been, sandpaper with
Matt's
me.
our
It's all
gentle
right.
giant.
I appreciate it. He just eats Kit Kats weird. We'll
Yeah.
get to that later, but no, man, it was a couple things. I recognized it was just like my inner voice and my self-awareness was just screaming to get out. And there were points, as before my son was born, even, and it was just a lot louder after my son was born, that were just things that didn't go away. Like they happened, they existed, but they sat in the back of my mind. And it took a lot of time to really kind of like wrap my head around going, okay, my subconscious is really trying to tell me something. Um, uh, I'll really kind of like high level was my dad is very much an emotionally shut in person. He volcanic temper, like the smallest things would set him off. He was always just kind of simmering. So that's what I grew up knowing was normal, was just I bottled everything up until I exploded. And, I had outbursts, before my son was born that I'm not proud of. And, I had outbursts, after my son was born as an infant. And I realized that was stress and anxiety, but I would sit there, staring at my kid going, there has to be a better way. And I'm like, this cannot be the only way. And looking at my mother, she was just, she was emotionally unavailable. Like there was not a caring, supportive, or somebody who worked to be understanding kind of person there. And it was like, it took me staring at this, this infant going, and realizing I did not have the best examples of a relationship or as a parent growing up, that I'm like, okay, like my load file into this life was random. Like I did not get the best load file. Like I don't have to be this way, but I had to step out. I had to be able to step out of their expectations and what they thought was best, because obviously it didn't work for them, to be able to remove some of that from myself. And even in my marriage at the time, like if she was out with friends, like there would be this sense of dread before she got home. And I'm like, okay, this isn't normal. Like I should be excited for my person to come home. And it was the culmination of this stuff happening years over years that would build up. And then like my son was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, in the sense that like I've been doing all of this stuff for everybody else's viewpoint of what it looks like from the outside. I'm not serving myself, and it just got to this point where I'm like, I can't do this to my son. I can't put him in this situation where I'm trying to hide my misery and teaching him that that's okay. It was like there were constant instances where those things were happening, and it was just like, I refuse to be the person to throw my son, who didn't ask to be here, into that situation.
Which is so powerful, because I feel like in today's world, 9 out of 10 times, if someone's unhappy, they try to stick through it for the sole reason of like, oh, I just want my kids to see mom and dad together. When in reality, that's not always the best scenario. Mom and dad unhappy day in and day out is not better than mom and dad happy being separate, right? And I think the world just kind of builds this idea around that, and a lot of people just think it's normal. So one, props to you for doing that. And you said something super powerful early on, where you chose to do this, you upset a lot of people, but that's okay. You were looking out for your best interest, you were looking out for your son's best interest, and you ultimately just wanted to give him a better opportunity. Now, one thing that I wanted to understand from you, and I wrote it down so I didn't forget. Did you come to that decision on your own? Did you seek community? Did you seek guidance from like an outside person, or was this something that just took over yourself and you just decided, I'm going to do this?
There were people who tried to approach me before this happened, going like, hey, are you really sure this is your person? Are you really sure you want to do this? It was, you can't see red flags when you're looking through rose colored glasses. Like people did try and talk to me, but I did not have the wherewithal or the self-awareness to really kind of understand what they were saying. So there were bits and pieces of that throughout, my relationship and my marriage leading up to my son being born. And, I was really kind of blind to the fact that the relationship that my parents had that I was experiencing was more abnormal than normal, in the sense that it wasn't really the best relationship. As I got older and as I dated other people, or as I, saw better examples of relationship, it really kind of planted seeds. But there were a couple relationships that I was privy to, like, that were in the orbit of my relationship with my wife at the time, that were just like toxic and just unhealthy. And it was just like seeing that as a mirror and as a reflection of where I was, because I was seeing the same stuff go, like, happen in that relationship, how they were addressing each other, how they were talking to each other. And I was seeing similar things in my relationship. And so, like, it got to a point where I was talking to a friend about all of this, and they turn to me and they go, dude, you need to get divorced. Like, you can't keep doing this. And that was kind of like, that was my breaking point, was like, okay, I'm not crazy for thinking I'm hallucinating and seeing these things. It's real. Other people are seeing it. I've just been so stubborn in the sense that, no, this is what I have to do. And that was my breaking point, was like, you're right. Like, I can't make a change if I don't change my environment.
Yeah.
Powerful.
I got something. What would you say, Nick, like the hardest conversation you've had with your kid? I guess whether, maybe it's around when he asks questions about you and, his mom, or if it's, something else. What do those conversations look like?
Those conversations have popped up over the years. I like, as he's become a bit more aware and intuitive and all of this stuff, like, he's seen a more well-balanced dad. He's seen a dad who's making efforts to be a better man and a better parent and to show up in the ways that he deserves. So it's hard for him, because that's all he's ever seen. So it's hard for him to imagine me in a different light, where I'm not this person. And he goes, why aren't you and mom together? Like, why don't you love each other? Why did you get divorced? And, we'll have conversations about it now. And, it's really hard not to get into, like, a more adult conversation and use more adult words and go, daddy just wasn't happy. Like, and I couldn't be the dad I wanted to be with you with mom, because I wasn't happy, and that wasn't going to change. Um, and leading back to it, he's asked a bunch over the years, because he's seen mom grow. He's seen our relationship get significantly better, especially the last few years. He's like, why aren't you guys together? Why aren't you in love? Why did you get divorced? And it was like, I was the cause. I was suffering and struggling through all of this. I didn't have a way to communicate to mom. So, I'm at fault for really kind of dropping a bomb on her, going, hey, I'm miserable. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't. I don't have it in me. And so it's like, it's having the continuous conversations and just kind of like shining a little bit more light as he gets older and is able to understand more complicated words and situations and scenarios, and going, hey, like, daddy just wasn't happy, and I couldn't be what I wanted to be for you when I was with mom. Oh, you're the most important thing that I will ever have the opportunity to get to do. Like, I had to do this for you. Like, I wanted to be a better dad for you, and this is how I had to do it. This is how I saw that I had to do it.
I think,
But
Love
like
that.
I
like,
think
as
in
he gets
light of
older,
that,
those conversations will obviously change, and I'll be able to elaborate a little bit more. But it was like, daddy just
Yeah.
wasn't happy, and I couldn't fix.
in honestly, thank you so much for sharing that. It's not easy to talk about those things, and we appreciate the heck out of you for doing so. I want to kind of pivot it, obviously, from going over such a massive hurdle in life, having to go through something like that. Like, you have a baby, you understand things aren't going well, you actually make the effort to get out of that situation, give your son a better life. Now you start this entire entrepreneurial journey where I kind of get excited is, again, we're all in sales here. I want to understand, how did you start, selling your product? What was that like, getting in front of, new therapists, selling yourself, selling the product, prospecting? Like, I want to hear that kind of crazy entrepreneurial journey from you and how that's going today.
That has really kind of only started. It took 2 years to build out the software and the app. Last year we had to get HIPAA certified because we launched August of 2024. And I just asked for referrals. So I would talk to friends and go, hey, do you know a therapist who works with couples? I have something I want to just give them. I want to give this away for people to see value so I can build a reputation via word of mouth that I'm not selling a crazy pants idea, that the thing that I'm trying to introduce isn't something to where I'm just trying to take more money from you. Like I literally built this to make your job easier because I implemented tools that would have helped my marriage, being an emotionally shut in man, and am providing avenues for people who are struggling with communication or looking for things to do or looking for ways to grow my relationship. But it was the kindness of my friends going, hey, yeah, I'll totally, email my therapist to make an introduction, and having those phone calls. I had a couple of them right after launch, and they're like, is it HIPAA certified? I'm like, no, not yet. So we had to pivot. We spent 3/4 of last year getting HIPAA certified. And now it's right back to that, like me building a presence on LinkedIn and having these coffee chats and sharing my story. They're like, oh, I have a marriage counselor I think would love hearing your story, or a relationship coach, or please let me introduce you to my therapist. And that's, it's been word of mouth. Like I haven't had a ton of, runway or revenue to really throw out giant marketing campaigns. It's been me, taking 6 or 7 minutes to share the story I shared with you guys and go, hey, like this is coming from a pure place, in a place that would have helped me. And I want to give the app away to people who want to use it. And at the same time, like I want to make therapists' lives easier, not just with this, but with a bunch of other things. And in talking about that and just kind of like being face to face and in them seeing the genuine space that I come from has at least helped me get to like, sure, I'll check it out. Yeah, I'll give you feedback. Sure, I want to introduce you to somebody else. And that's where it's been, the last 3 months. We're about to roll out socials. We're about to roll out a marketing campaign. We're about to roll out, more LinkedIn content to help me with that, because I can't continue doing this one-on-one if I really want to grow. But that's been the journey so far, is just sharing my story and it coming from a place of the heart. Like it's just, it hit and I had to do it and I had to share it. It's just been this compulsion ever since.
Yeah. And I think that's a big, like, props to you in your character, right? Again, being in sales, we know how powerful a referral is. But I also know that I'm just not going to refer everyone. It's not everyone that comes across my desk and is like, yo, can you refer me to this person? Like, dude, I'll put your name on the line if I trust you, because at the end of the day, you're a representation of me. You're an extension of me. So the fact that you have people that are going to bat for you and making those introductions, huge props to you on that. But you're right. You can only exercise that muscle for so long. So I'm excited to see kind of this next chapter with, the marketing campaigns, the LinkedIn campaigns, the socials, all that sort of good stuff. Yeah, man.
Nick,
Thank you.
you mentioned LinkedIn. There's your persona on LinkedIn. Anytime I see your name, I always just think of the pretzel emoji that's attached to your name. Talk to me about the persona you created. I think you have some of the most fun content out there in the space
Thanks,
right
man.
now.
Okay, so the pretzel is one story, but who I show up on LinkedIn is separate. So the pretzel, I grew up fucking broke. Like, sorry for the F-bomb, but like I grew up dirt poor. Like it was just, that's what it was. by the grace and generosity of other family members, the couple times that we were able to go to Disneyland, and this is the example that I use when I tell this, when I share this on LinkedIn. But it was like, I was fortunate enough being in a really, really low income family to, have people, buy tickets for us or whatever. And those were like big, bright, shiny experiences. It was like, and Disneyland is throwing everything at you. Like it's just capitalism heroin, right? And so I'm walking around just bombarded with all of this shiny stuff. And of course, I'm like any kid at Disneyland. It's like, can I have that? Can I have that? Can I have that? Can I have that? And my parents were always no. And now looking back on my childhood, I can see why they said no, from the sense of like they just didn't have the money to get me that stuff. But they were also like parents and going like, no, you can't have everything. Like, but it was like I grew up kind of knowing we were poor, but we couldn't talk about it. It was like my parents refused to talk about money in front of us kids. And it was just like that was the thing. It was like we were poor, but we didn't really kind of like, we were ashamed of it, so we didn't talk about it, we didn't acknowledge it. It was just like we existed. And so when my son came around and he was old enough to start going on adventures and whatnot, I promised him that I made a promise to myself, and I made this promise to him when he could understand it, that no matter what, like no matter my financial standing, I will always have $5 or $6 to buy you a pretzel, no matter where we are. I don't care. Like that was my one thing to him, is if we were out doing a thing, and there was a pretzel stand, and like Cam could count on me saying yes to buy him a pretzel. And so, but it's been like a tradition ever since. Like we're pass holders to the San Diego Zoo, and we're there often, right? But it's like that's where it kind of started. Is like one of the first times we went, he's like, "Dad, can I have a pretzel?" I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I got like, it's tight, but I'll buy you a pretzel. Sure, why not?" And that's just been the thing. And when, emojis kind of started popping up on profiles and everybody was throwing out their stuff, I'm like, what? Like I didn't have one yet. And it kind of clicked one day. I'm like, pretzel. Like and it's two things. It's like, it reminds me of where I came from, but it also reminds me of where I'm going. Like, it's like, I don't want to be a Rockefeller. I don't want to be a Bezos or anything like that. I want to build enough to have the abundance of time for Cam and I to go do things when we want to. Like, I don't want to be filthy, stinking rich. I just want to be able to have the time for us to go and do things if and when we can. And that's kind of it. It is like, that's why the pretzel emoji is there. As for the presence I bring to LinkedIn, this is not something that I advertise. So congratulations, Dadgood, and the thousands of you who get to hear this story. I went through.
Yeah.
Coming back. He's coming back. Yeah.
Dude,
Hot to
Dude,
unpack. I love this dude, bro.
I was such a great dude.
That's
I'm
so funny.
Look at his profile now with the
story.
pretzel.
That was
I
a
never
great
even thought
question.
of
I
that.
could have.
There's people with emojis left and right. I guarantee no one has a story to back up
Nobody
their emoji.
has
No, that's why
that tied
that
to their
story was
emoji, bro.
great.
No, but
way.
maybe they have a story, but it's not that good of a story.
No, it's
That's
not
a good
that.
story.
Are you kidding?
Not that.
Like,
I
I
was
was
not
like,
now I
almost
gotta
like over
have an
here.
emoji to throw
I
on
was like
mine.
almost over here, like, dude, like, I was just trying.
Yeah,
that's-
honestly.
But I wanted to ask him if it's ever anything besides
Sorry,
a
no,
pretzel.
I'm here.
Like
Can
maybe
you
if
hear
they're
me?
like, hey, I need it.
Yeah, we
yes,
can hear you, man.
Yes.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
I am on my phone. I apologize. I tried to find the best service I could. Where did you
No,
lose
you're
me?
good.
When you're about to pivot to the way that you do content now.
All right. Okay. So I showed up to Weird LinkedIn in March, and I had a relationship end that I didn't think would ever end. Like that person was my person. Like I had made that choice to be devoted to her and the relationship, and it literally disintegrated practically overnight. And it left me devastated. What happened for me was like I stumbled upon LinkedIn like in the throes of this breakup, and I just had this crazy amount of love to give, but I had nowhere to put it. And as I was kind of like swimming through Weird LinkedIn, I saw a lot of people struggling just with their own stuff. And it was just like, for me, it was like, I can't fix what you're dealing with, and I can't fix that the job market sucks or that you got laid off. Like I can't fix any of it, but I can at least show up and tell you you're not alone. And that was just how I I decided to show up was like if somebody made a post or somebody made a comment in a section where they were just kind of like, bleh, like I made sure to shine a little light. And that's just the presence that I wanted to be because that's who I am anyways. Like I'm not this crazy, like toxic positive person, but it was like life sucks often. And right now it really sucks a lot very frequently. And it's like you don't have to do it alone. I am okay to sit in the shit with you until it gets better. And like if you need it, I'm there. And I just wanted to show up for the people like that. And it was just like it allowed me to really kind of flesh out not really who I wanted to be on LinkedIn, but it kind of really reinforced who I wanted to be as a person. Like I'm not I can't fix it, but I can be there if you need it. And so to start with that footprint, to just, happen across opportunities where like somebody just needed to know that they weren't alone or that they were acknowledged or that, their comment or their post was seen and to just shine a little light for them when they needed it was like that really I saw it resonating with people. And it just like the shit didn't continue, but I was like, I have the capacity for this. I can give this away. I'm okay giving this away. And that's just been what I've persisted in is just like if I come across those things or if like somebody deserves a shout out or, deserves praises, like I want to let them know that they're seen. And then, that like I got more comfortable and I turned into a silly goose and it's just been, that's the rest is history.
That's when I entered the room.
Yeah.
Right about that turn into silly goose. That's when I came to the table with my boy
Dude,
Nick.
yeah. Well, dude, man, if you go far enough in my posts, like I stumbled on the weird LinkedIn right as the hashtag was coming around, and it was like, dude, I could like I'm in such a funk. I'm like, I'm weird. I can be weird. My first few posts were just sideways and awful, but I'm like, I wanted to not
Let's go.
like, dude, I'm a goofy guy. Like, I'm okay goofing around and having fun and being, off the wall. And it's like, I don't want to edit myself. Like, I want to show up as real as I can, because these other people are too. And I'm like, these are the people that I want to meet. And this is the community that I need. This is the community that they need. And who would I be to limit myself to one facet of my personality? So yeah, I faced a lot of fears and just showed up as me.
Man.
So sick,
Nick,
bro.
I love that you said when you showed up on LinkedIn, when you were kind of going through that difficult time and you showed up and you chose to kind of, be a light, shine a light for other people. I think that's really awesome because I feel like it's super easy when things are like that to kind of be the opposite and you just kind of go out of your way to find really mean and negative things to say to other people, even about yourself. And I think we see that on social media like all the time. So I just, want to applaud you for that because I also am a big believer that even no matter what you're going through, if you do choose that route, I feel like it'll slowly, start to, it'll just slowly start to heal you too, and like it makes that difficult situation, not so difficult because you're just, you're just trying to make someone else's day better, life better, and help where you can. And so I think, dude, I just think that's really awesome, man. So
Thank you very
respect
much.
on
I
that.
appreciate that. Dude, it took a couple years of therapy for me to really kind of understand that how you approach life, what your mindset is how how life is reflected at you. And it was like I spent, you know, 3.5 decades being angry at everything and thinking the world was against me. And it was like, okay, obviously this isn't working. Like shifting my mindset has been incredibly powerful and kind of I love this question. It's like peel away everything every title that you have, like dad, professional, provider, like peel it all away. And what are you at the end of it. And I have spent a really, really long time trying to digest that question and really kind of get to the bottom of it, because like, oh, like I would always naturally default to like, I'm a dad. That's my thing. I'm a dad. Like, take everything else away. But it like, to answer that question, I have to take Cam away, my son. And it's like, even if he's gone, what am I? And like, it kind of hit me. It was like where I am right now, peel myself away. And it was like, the answer that I got was like, I'm nothing but scar tissue and light. And I would much rather shine light than just exist as scar tissue. But like, therapy has helped a lot.
That's awesome, man. I love that.
No, bro. I'm so glad that you just said yes when I was like, you got to come and talk to my guys and talk to my community.
Dude, heck yeah, man.
Coming up, we're at what, almost 50-minute mark. One thing I did want to say is, so I think the coolest part of Nick's kind of trajectory into more of like the expansive service and software with the therapist and the couples counseling is one of his apps, Cups and Spoons, is free in the App Store. So you got an iPhone, you got Android, you can go and download the app instantly, have your wife or your partner download the app. You can connect your accounts. There's new boards released, was it every week or every month?
Yeah.
Which are essentially like the accolades, the quiet things. Like the joke that I had with Nick the last time we spoke is, if I'm sitting on the couch, the ball game's on, and the missus tells me, hey, you gotta take out the trash. Like, my first inclination is to look at her like, are you out sure? I'm sitting down, my feet are up, the game is on. And the exercise, especially using this app, is I know that, dude, if I take out the trash, it's going to make the missus really happy. Now, I get to do it on my own time, but when I do it, I'm going to hit that box inside the app, and then she's going to acknowledge it. And chances are hey, attaboy, that's my guy, see? So like, I'm going to get a dopamine hit. She's getting the dopamine hit because she's like, yo, my man takes out the trash, and it's, dude, it's free. And any effort like that, to the expression that Nick was using, is like putting additional money or coins in your relationship bank. It was just a no-brainer. So me and the missus are now on Cups and Spoons, and it's as
Nice.
easy as just heading
Heck
to the
yeah.
App Store, type in Cups and Spoons, and you also could get the app for free.
Well,
That's awesome.
I love that it's gamified, and also I love that it's centered around, serving your partner is what it seems
Yeah.
to be. And also, one thing that I'm learning is to serve your partner, but serving them because you're grateful to be able to serve them, not because, as a man, sometimes, Chris, you kind of maybe alluded, you're like, oh, if I take the trash out, if I do this, maybe
Yeah, no,
maybe there's a little something, and, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But also, it's just like, dude, like fill your person's cup because, you want to, you're grateful to, because hopefully they fill yours. But I love that it's gamified like that. And, and Chris, you mentioned like the dopamine hit too. And it's just like a fun little way to, to kind of to do those things and mix it up. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, like,
yeah.
dude, Warren,
check it out.
you said the word, man. It's I want to. It's not I have to. It's I want to. I get to. I get to do this. And if I do this, my wife is going to be so stoked on me. Bro, why would I not try to just continuously put coins in the relationship bank in that circumstance?
Yeah.
Perfectly said, dude.
100%.
I couldn't have
Yeah.
said it
I
any
also
better.
think just like
Come on, baby.
doubling down on acknowledging your spouse too. I think that's another big thing too, because sometimes just the daily lives and the daily aspects just like go by, and you don't think to say thank you, which sucks saying out loud, but it also gives you a moment to sit down and thank them for whatever it is, or acknowledge them in a way that can lift them up that you don't might take for granted, but I'm sure your partner will absolutely appreciate the heck out of it.
No, that's the game.
Chris, you're
So-
definitely taking out the trash though, right?
Bro, I want to take out the trash.
I don't want
What
you
you
to take
should
out the
do,
trash.
what you
I
should
want you
do
to
is
want me
act.
to take-
You should act like that and be like, "Oh my goodness, get up," and then just give her a nice
Yeah,
little
right.
wink and be like, "Of course, I'm taking out the trash."
Dude, no, it's like that. I post the meme
little
as a
meme?
Dadgood comment. Yeah, like, hey, can you come and set the table? Like, why would I set the table? I want you to want to set the table. Why would I want to set the table? Like, who wants to set the table? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then you post Chris's one of his early acting videos. It's like, well, you
My God.
well, you made the dinner, you didn't set the table. You're already 75% of the way there.
Yeah. Don't you want that personal sense of accomplishment knowing you did it all by yourself? That's terrible. Anyways, gentlemen, we're at about the hour mark. Just again, dude, Nick Howe, How United Games and Software Hugs. You can get the app Cups and Spoons. Find it in your local mobile app store. My guy, Nick, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us, dude. Like I said, the moment that I heard your story, I knew that I couldn't be selfish enough to contain it and keep it all to myself. So really glad you wanted to come and hang out with us for a bit.
Dude, pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much. It means the world to come and, hop on here with you guys. You're titans of dadhood, and what you guys are doing is impressive and honorable. And I appreciate you guys as much as I possibly can. So thanks.
That's so cool.
You're the man, Nick.
Yeah,
That's
brother.
so cool.
Appreciate you, my dude.
All right. Well, you already know we release new episodes every single week. We try to. For the most part, we do. Get out of town. As always, I'm your host, Chris Walcher. We got your boy, WD Warren Friends, hanging out with us tonight. You know him. You love him. Guy Grosco's GG in the Dadgood house. And don't forget about your boy, Chief Revenue Officer, MC Matt Campbell in the house. Gentlemen, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.